Senator. Jakob. Jakob.
Oops. Is that you, yeah?
Yo soy Omar. Ya, buena. Habla. Mi tapia, güey. Con español. Español. Lucha es el pelo, lucha es. Lucha es el pelo.
Oops. Is that you, yeah?
Ya. Uno lo coge. Dale. Y yo póngale, sí. Yo pongo. Ya es como. Allá, yo voy a hablar. Desde la fuga. Avanza con. Ya habla. Ya buena.
Oops. Is that you, yeah?
Nyafila man, mañana gari ko di mo maramne. You be the one, my love. I won't walk it for you. Kinele ne watch it for you. Ungene gale sin jesi. Kimbo lock it for you. X-Men looking at me funny, you know, cause it's good. I'm telling you to my sink bird. Get me the funny bird. As a song, Paranan Kaba. I can put you on. Wanakaunala, Tangle and the Mont. Just my on. Sticking up a share, seeking my demala. Baby, monkey. I was killing the moon on my kid one next week. Better tell him it's more than love. This time, let's see. No lie. Feel it stupid. Bigger when I wake, but whenever I look at I ain't trying to buy, so be long time. Cause you know I want you. Try to Eba sifuga nishutani Nurupele, nubape Nisitele, uzikwele Unavumizinde I think it's sad Itando lako Kami na ngawe ngitwele Sange bangifaku boya ngawe ngayifele Bangitinga mfume nifuna mase Uzona kumdini wami mbedisi Kala ngifuna Ayitele, adizuma wami Kezi ele, ela mapunta Tawali wasi, aluma ngitawu Muzisi, Titana Tela kuna shirika, sanganisi Ananawa wikapika, kukulidisi Kukulidisi, atingisi Nendisi, Titana Mita Tela kuna shirika, sanganisi Sinanguba dempisi, aisanganisi Kukulidisi, atingisi Nendisi, nikatu ibele Eba sifuga nishutani Nurupele, nubape Nisitele, uzikwele Unavumizinde I think it's sad.
Thank you.
Gel kok. Aliás, leva pra ele já lavou. Avança com, já lá, buena.
Is that you yet?
Avança com, já lá, buena.
Oops. Is that you yet? Is that you yet?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to one of our live sessions. I'm not sure how long is this going to last because we have load shedding. Yes, I am in Cape Town, but we are not that fortunate to have a full day without load shedding today. But tomorrow we will have a full day. According to the schedule, we won't have any load shedding tomorrow. Do me a favor, while you're here, share, and while you're waiting for me to set up my mic, please share this live, double tap the screen. In this way, more grade 12 students will see this. If they have any questions, so let's see what we can do in the next probably 30 minutes. But this is my method and this is my strategy when I do these live sessions, is where we read the question, I give you a head start, maybe like 1 minute or minute and a half or a few seconds, depending on the mark allocation, because you'll see it on the left side, on the right side here. We'll say 1 minute, 1 mark, 3 marks, whatever. So we'll give you that head start, and then you do it, and then we do it together. Okay, then you can check if we have the same answer also. Most of the times I will just give you one solution, but sometimes you'll notice on your memo, as usual, these multiple solutions. So let me just see if there's any questions here. Yeah, so make sure that you double tap the screen so that more students can see this. Welcome. And in 2019 paper, why does it not want to print the graph? Yes, I'm not sure it's my printer. I've got a cheap printer here. It's an HP, don't know what brand, model number. But yeah, I've noticed most of the times it doesn't print out correct. But yeah, maybe it's your printing settings. But hey, I drew in mine. Okay, so let's work through. Yeah, so I think it was Saturday or last week, someone asked me to, I might be wrong, but originally one of the most common questions I get in my DMs or viral questions, let's do a little bit, can't we do graphs and mixed graphs specifically and inverses and those stuff. And also, so I've worked from that and also from a poll I did on Saturday where I asked what sections should we cover. There were a few of them and this was one of them. Okay, so let's do question 4. Let me do this. Okay, so it's question 4. By the way, I apologize now already because there's going to be, like as we know, it's load shedding. So there's going to be somewhere in this live, the live is just going to end. That means it's load shedding. Okay, so let me do this. The green. Okay, put that in green. Okay, now it's better. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Do this. I think that's the best I can do for now. Okay, so the first question, let's look at the first question. Below are the graphs of fx equal to x squared plus bx minus 3 and gx equal to a over x plus b. So obviously this is a quadratic function or equation. Here it's a parabola, also called a parabola, and this is hyperbola. So the few things are given here in bulleted points. The first thing is f has a turning point at C. So this is what I usually do. So I will read, and then as I'm reading, I'll check if the stuff is on the graph, okay? Whatever they say here. So here they say f has a turning point at C. So let's see, yes, it's called C. And it passes through the x-axis at this point here, 1, 0. So there's 1, 0. We will also see a vertical line. Yeah, okay. We don't know what that means, but maybe later on in the question or in this text, they will say, okay, this is what it means. Next point, they say D is the y-intercept. So yes, it's the y-intercept of both f and g. Okay, f and g. Okay, yes. The graphs of f and g also intersect at each other at E and J. So it intersects, yes, at that point and at that point. Now they say also here, the vertical asymptote, G passes through the x-intercept of F. Okay, so yes, it's going through the the x-intercept. Yes, there we go. So there is that point. Okay, so let's look at the first question. The first question asks us, so we've read all of those things. So let's go to the first question here. They ask, write down the value of P, and it's 1 mark, so you don't have to spend like 10 minutes on the question. So I'm going to give you a minute, a few seconds to give me that answer. By the way, the P value comes from this equation here. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few seconds to do that. And if you have the answer, you can just give me a thumbs up, or you can just double tap the screen. In that way, more grade 12 students will see this. Okay. So we're busy with the first one. And if you have the answer, you're more than welcome to comment the answer. Let's make it more interactive. Okay, so now let's get to this question. So answer of this one. So it's 4.1. Let's make it 4.1. And value of P is also the asymptote. This is the hyperbola. We all know that because of the format here. The Q is missing. The Q is the y asymptote, but here we have an x asymptote, so that one would is good. The x asymptote is going to be at x equal to 1. So that as we can see here, so that basically means that our P value is going to be equal to -1. So that means my P is equal to -1. Hopefully that makes sense, but let me know if you want me to explain it again. Okay, somebody said Ntu said it's -1. Okay, cool. Let's move on to the next one, 4.2. So the next one is worth 3 marks, as you can see. And now we need to show that A is equal to 3 and B is equal to 2. So the A comes from this formula here, with this equation, and the B comes from the quadratic equation. And now they want us to show that A is equal to 3 and B is equal to 2. So I'm going to give you a minute and a half, a few head start, okay? And if you've just joined us, make sure that you double tap the screen. In this way, it will pop up on the For You page, not to benefit me, but to benefit those who are watching maybe stuff that is not helpful, I will say. And also it will tell TikTok, okay, we need to see this, more of our friends need to see this. And obviously share the live. If you're not in grade 12, share the live as well. So double tapping the screen will help a lot, okay? If you have the answer, if you've proven it, you can give me a thumbs up, or you can just double tap the screen as well. Thank you for following, Motso. Thank you for sharing. For those who have just joined us, make sure that we share this, one of our rare live sessions. Okay, so let's get into it. If you have the answer, you can just give me a thumbs up or let me know if I should give you a few seconds. Also, very important, this is not a movie, it's not entertainment, it's edutainment. That's why I'm doing the paper here, and also in the background you'll hear, when I give you that few seconds to answer your question, I will play a little bit of music. So I think of it as edutainment. But the most important thing is obviously pen and paper. Okay, pen and paper. Okay, so let's get to the answer of this one. Okay, so let's read the question again and let's see what is given on the graph. Let me just get, see if I can get the pencil. Okay, here's my pencil because I need to write stuff on this page. So they want us to show that A is equal to 3 and B is equal to 2. So let's see, so it's up to you if you want to calculate A first or calculate B first. It's really up to you. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate A first because it's a little bit longer. So let's write here 4.2. So let's see what's given on this graph here. Okay, so usually when they ask you to find an equation or prove that this value, A in this case, A is equal to 3, and sometimes they say prove that the equation of a straight line or whatever the graph they give you is equal to blah blah blah, then what I will look for is there any points I can substitute into my equation and substitute it in there and get those values. And in this case I asked that question and I told myself, yes, there is stuff that I can substitute in there, and that stuff is this coordinate. So I have here this coordinate or this point here, and I have this point here that I can substitute into one of these equations. But let's, like I said, let's look at 4.2 at first. So from the previous question we saw that, okay, P is equal to -1. So I'm going to substitute that in there and see what else I can do further. So it's going to be y, or just g of x, it doesn't matter. So y equal to a over x minus 1. So that is what I have. Okay, I substituted that p we calculated or proven before, that p is equal to 1. I substituted into the equation of the hyperbola. So let's look further what's on our graph. One of the things that is given on my graph that I can substitute is this point here, this point D. Now D is also the y-intercept of the parabola. Okay, so the y-intercept, according to this equation here, it is equal to -3. So this point here is 0 and -3. So it's also, this D is also on the hyperbola. Okay, it's on this section of the hyperbola. So I can actually substitute this coordinate into my equation. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. So remember that coordinate is 0 and 3. So my x is 0 and my y is equal to -3. So let's substitute that in here. So my y is -3. We want to calculate a. My x is 0 and there we have -1. So if we solve this, in other words, just the a on the left side or the right side, we will see that our o value is equal to 3, and that's your final answer for a. Let's move on to calculating b. Okay, so do you have any questions based on this one? Let me know, okay, how I got to a equal to 3. So the next one is where I want to calculate now, or to prove that my b is equal to 2. So b, like we've seen from the beginning of the question, it is the coefficient of x. So let's see what else is given on this graph here. It is given that this point, I'm going to substitute this point, where my x value is 1 and my y value is 0. So I'm going to substitute that in there. So let's quickly write down. So this is still part of this one. So wherever I see x, I'm going to substitute 1. Okay, and my y is going to be 0. So let me first write down that equation. So it's y equal to x squared plus bx minus 3. And the coordinate that I'm going to substitute is 1 and 0. So let's do that. So my y is 0. And I saw that this is 1 plus b 1 minus 3. And if I solve this, I will see that my b is equal to 2, and this is your final answer. Let me know if you want me to explain this so that we can move on to the next question. But I'm going to explain it anyway. I just want to read some of these, if there's any comments. Okay. If you got this answer, just double tap the screen or give me a thumbs up. Or if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you very much for sharing the live. And then C core, thank you for following. Somebody asked, is this pure or lit? It is pure. I assume that you're not grade 12. But if you're not in grade 12, make sure that you share this live so that more students can see this. We're going to do the session until load shedding kicks in. For those who have just joined, I think I'm going to have load shedding at 4. So there's a possibility that the live is just going to shut down. Or Cape Town, the city of Cape Town is going to surprise me. Okay, so let's quickly read this question again here where they ask us to show that A is equal to 3 and B is equal to 2. So the first thing I ask myself is, okay, is there anything, usually when they ask me to prove something, like in this case A is 3, or sometimes they will say, prove that equation is equal to blah, blah, blah. Then I will look at, is there anything I can substitute into my original equation? So in this case, yes. I told myself, and I told you guys, okay, that I'm first. Okay, there we go. Wait a minute. Okay, there we go. So I told you guys, okay, yes, I'm first going to solve A and then I'm going to do B, but it's really up to you which one you want to do first. It doesn't really matter in this case. So I asked myself, okay, is there a point on this graph G, okay, that I can substitute in my original equation? And the answer is yes. So that point will be 0 and -3, because that is also, we got that point from the original equation of the quadratic equation, okay? So that's this y-intercept of the parabola, so which is 0 and -3. So I can substitute this point into my original equation to get the value of A. But remember, in the previous question, the first one, we already got P. So what I did was I substituted in there P as -1. So then further on, I substitute this coordinate. There we go, 0 and 3. My x is 0 and my y was -3. And then I solve for A. Further on, I need to calculate now B. So B, I look at B's for the coefficient of x. So I ask myself, okay, is there anything I can substitute in there? And yes, I'm going to substitute in 1 and 0, because that is on this line. Remember, the thing about substituting points is, if the point was somewhere else, let's say for instance there was a point given there, that point is not on this graph, so I can't substitute that point, but I can substitute this point because I have it. I can substitute that is also a point on the graph, but we don't have it. We can substitute that point, we can substitute that point. So any point on the graph that is given, that's going to make things easier for you. In this case, the thing that was going to make things easier for me was this point here. So my x is 1 and my y is 0. So I substitute in there. So my y is 0 and my x is 1. So everywhere I see x, I substituted it by 1. And then I got my b value, and that's my final answer. Let's move on to the next one, which is worth 4 marks, quite a lot of marks. Okay, so it's 4.3. So let's move up the book. So we're going to do 4.3. And here they want us to calculate the coordinates of C. So C is the turning point of this parabola. Okay, so this one is worth 4 marks, quite a lot of marks. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a minute and a half head start, and then we're going to attack this question together. So take out your pen and your paper and do it on your notepad. For those who have just joined us, we're doing a little bit of revision. Double tap the screen, share this live, because we're going to do a few of these. We're going to have a few of these sessions up until next week when you write your paper 2. Okay, so this is paper 1, revision. Okay. Thank you for sharing. If you have any questions, you're more than willing to ask. Double tap the screen if you're not in grade 12, in your different grade, or you're done with school. Share this live to some of your friends that might need a little bit of help. Okay. Thank you for sharing, Mandy. Remonilwe, thank you for sharing. Thank you for following. Moodley, Ashlyn, Leslo Nolo, Mandy, share the live, thank you very much. Oleke followed, Mpo followed. Double tap the screen, it will help a lot. And let's so that we can get it on the For You page. If you have your answer, double tap the screen as well. Right. Okay, if you have your answer, double tap the screen, or you can just let me know. You can just comment your answer, or just give me a thumbs up. Somebody say, greetings everyone, how long have this live started? This could really help. We started about, well, I don't know. Not more than, I will say not more than 20 minutes ago. There's a possibility that according to my schedule, I'm gonna have 4 p.m. load shedding. So if this live just end, please forgive me. It's not me, it's my rudeness. If you've just joined us, make sure that you double tap the screen. If you have the answer, comment the answer as well. Okay, Tomcat02 say, continue please. What's your answer please? Few more seconds and we're going to continue as demanded by Tomcat02. Okay, so let's look at what they ask and then we do it together. If you have your answer, you're more than welcome to answer comment your question. So there's many ways that you, as I've said in the beginning, there's many ways that you can answer your question. I usually in this live I usually just show how to do one way. But also it's very important that when you work through a question paper that you have the memo at hand as well, because it's not going to make sense. You work through the question paper, you're not going to be sure if your answer is correct. Okay, so let's get to it. Calculate the coordinates of C. C is here. C is also the turning point of the parabola. So there's 2 ways, like I've said. One is where you're gonna use axis of symmetry formula, get your x value, substitute it into your original equation to get your y coordinate, and those 2 x and y values is going to be your turning point. So this is the one I have in my playlist here on TikTok. I think you will find it in a grade 10 file. Okay, so that's the one that I'm going to use here. But there's also the one where you can derive, use your not first principles, use your general rule to derive and then set it equal to 0, get your x value, substitute that value into your original equation and get your y-intercept, and that will be those latter 2 values will be your turning point, okay, because this is a turning point. But enough talking, let's write down mathematically what I've just said. So I'm going to use axis of symmetry, but before I do that, remember previously we calculated b, or not calculated, we proved that b is equal to 2. So I'm going to substitute that in there. Let me just move my big books. Okay, so we know that fx is equal to x squared plus my b value is 2 minus 3. I'm going to use axis of symmetry, that small little formula that say x is equal to minus b over 2a. So my b in this case is 2, so it's going to be negative 2 over my a value is 1. So that means my x is going to be negative 1. Okay, Now all we need to do next is substitute this into my original equation to get the y-intercept of my turning point. So that's what I'm going to do. So everywhere I see x, I'm going to substitute -1. So it's going to be -1 squared plus 2, open bracket, -1, -3. And that's going to give me a y value of -4. So that means my C, the turning point, the coordinate of the turning points is going to be -1 and -4, and this is your final answer. So you can actually also see from the graph as well that the x value must be negative according to the graph. I'm not saying that the graph is drawn to sketch or you must look, they didn't say that. But according to this graph, I can see, okay, my answer is correct because the x value must be negative and my y value must be negative. Okay, and that's my final answer. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. Well, before I get to that part, let's do question 4.5. Okay, I think I need to turn my page. For those who have just joined us, make sure that you share this live. Okay, if you're not in grade 12, it will help a lot so that more students can see this live. That's in grade 12. Okay, so let's go to question 4.5. Okay, here they ask us, determine the equation of the line through C that makes an angle of 45 degrees with the positive x-axis. Write your answer in the form y equals to blah blah blah, and that's worth 3 marks. I'm going to give you a minute and a half head start, and then we move on to the next question. 4.5. Okay, so let me do that. 4.5. .4. Oh my word. sorry. Okay, 4.4. Thank you very much, Savage Kid. He's awake, or she's awake. Yeah, 4.4. Where's 4.4? Okay, write down the range of f. Okay, write down the range of f. That will be 4.4. So this one is worth 2 marks, but I don't know why it's worth 2 marks. It's really, if you have the answer, Jared is saying, bro, I ain't know what people actually watch this. Does it even help, Jared? Jared, if it's not helping you, then you need to share it with someone that is going to help. If you have the answer, you can just double tap the screen, or you can comment the answer. Okay, if you're not grade 12, share the live to someone that's in grade 12. Okay. Somebody say, sorry, please move down. We're busy with question 4.4. Write down the range of f. Okay, so the range of f, this one is just 2 marks worth, so you don't even have to spend 2 minutes or 1 minute. You can just look at the graph because everything you already have. Remember, the range is, in this case, we're looking at the range of f, or the parabola. It is for all the y values this graph exists. So where does the graph exist? For we must look at the y values. The range is the y values, and the domain is the x values, but we're looking for the range. So it's going to be all the y values from this point onwards, from this point upwards. Okay, so what is this point? So we're looking at the y, remember that. So the y value, or the y value of the turning point, is -4. We calculated that in the previous one. So remember, let me just write it here because, oops, We calculated this before. It was -1 and -4. So it's all the y values from this point onwards. So there's two ways you can write it. So we can say it's going to be all the y values greater than equal to -4. So that will be, that's why I say, I don't know why this is like 2 marks, guys. Or you can just say it is all the y values, y is an element from -4, but the -4 is included. So it's from this point upwards. So infinite way. So it's going to be positive infinitely. So there we go. And that will be also 2 marks. But remember, this question is only 2 marks worth. Now we can move on to question 4.5. Okay. Let's do 4.5. 4.5. Okay, this one is worth 3 marks. And here they ask us to determine the equation. Let me just do this. Okay, let's first read the question. Here they say determine the equation of the line through C. So there's a line going through C. That's only, and it makes an angle of 45 with a positive x-axis. So let me just get, where's my ruler? Okay, so it's going through that point. Okay, so this line is going, there's a line going through there. Okay, and they call this line y equals to ... but we are trying to figure out what is this line. It's going through C and it's making a 45-degree angle, 45 with a positive axis. So that angle there, in paper 2 we call this the angle of inclination. Okay, with the positive x-axis. Now they ask us to write your answer in the form y equals to ... So this one is worth 3 marks, and I'm going to give you a minute or so to do this, because I've got a really bad feeling that the load shedding is going to come soon. Okay, so here's an important question. Somebody asked, what's the difference between square brackets and the circle brackets? This is a question from Savage Cat Lee. So the square, the round ones, the square means that that value is included. So whenever you use this symbol, okay, this one here, this means equal to. So then you use that. But if that's not included, so that means basically that value is included. In this case, the -4 was included. So here it means that, let's say for instance, we don't include the -4, then we have to use a round bracket. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so see, Savage, you messed up my page now. Guys, you're scammers. I know this is a scammer. Just watch out. Okay, let's sweep us with question 4.5. Okay. Let me quickly block the scammers. I give you a minute or so to do this. We have scammers here, man. Bloody hell, man. Don't the scammers get off here, man. Move on with your life, scammers. Okay, somebody asked here, I think with a 45-degree you can find the gradient for the straight line equation. Yeah, so look here, there's many ways you can do it. It's really up to you. In this one, it's up to you, okay? Not saying that yours is wrong or mine is wrong, or our stuff is right. Depends on our gradient is 1, someone say. Remember, they're not looking for the gradient. They're looking for the equation of the line. Lerato say our gradient is 1, okay. Tapiso say, okay. For those who have just joined us, make sure that you join the, no, don't share the live, because, yeah, share the live so that more students can see this, that we're doing Math Live. While you're busy, let me just check if there's any announcement on our City of Cape Town website. see. Can we continue, please? Pela say, Katiba, can we continue, please? Yes, please. What is the equation of your line, please? Pela is demanding answers. Hey, I'm at 2020. I also get one. Guys, remember, Uyatan Dwas also say, I also get one. They're not looking for the one. Like, what is one? They're asking for the equation of the line. Okay, write it in this form. Okay, so let's get to question 4.5, the answer of question 4.5. Let's quickly have a look here. Okay, so yeah, let's just read the question again. They say determine the equation of the line that's going through C. C is here, it's the turning point of the parabola, and they say this line is also making an angle of 45 with the positive x-axis. Now they want us to write the answer in y equals to dot dot dot. So most of you guys said why I get my gradient is 1, but remember they're asking for the equation of this line. Okay, so the first thing obviously is that you will need, there's two things that you need. You need 2 points on the graph, on that graph. There's only 1 point they gave us. They said, okay, it's going through this point C. Okay, so now we need two things to get the equation of a line. It's a gradient and it's also a coordinate or a point on that line. We have a point, okay, and we can calculate the gradient because the small piece of information they gave us here tell me that I can actually calculate the gradient of this graph, which is, and how do I do that? I use the small little piece of information or formula that say tan of my theta or tan of the angle of inclination in this case, or the angle is this angle 45 here, and that formula says it's equal to the gradient. So this is what I'm going to use. Okay, so it's going to be tan of 45 degrees is equal to 1. So that means, which is equal to my gradient according to that. So my gradient is equal to 1. So now I have my gradient, but that's not the answer. They want us to get the equation of this line. So from our formula we can see that it's actually we still need to calculate the the y-intercept. Okay,